All right, we live. Yo, this is BeatPPL Podcast. I believe it's episode 30. Last episode I said it was 28 when it was really 29. So that makes this episode 30. And thanks for rocking with us. If you've been rocking with us, I got my people in the place to be. What's up, D?
Man, you already know. Saturday, in the midst of a ton of work. You know, we moving, so
Word.
we packing, but you know, I always gotta make time for this, man. I love this.
Word. I appreciate you, bro.
How you doing, brother?
And plus the show is very much like giving people a peek into how we chat it up and rap every day anyway.
Yeah. So except our Marco Polo is very unfiltered.
Oh yeah, super unfiltered. And there's probably not only the unfiltered side, but then there's a lot of proprietary, maybe private information. Word up. What's up, Ken?
Hey, I'm not sure if my signal is going to be better on Wi-Fi or off of Wi-Fi, so I'll probably hop between. You guys can tell me which is best. Right now, I'm working with that dope.
You're working with that dope. Ken, that's probably for the private chat.
Yeah, I'm over here at the new spot, and I'm working on the gas line right now. So
word.
Yeah, so I want to say something before I get started into the show. Good friend of mine and studio engineer, my buddy Nick Rotundo, is from Clay Creek Recordings. If anybody's big into like the hardcore punk scene or anything like that and knows anything about my area, then they know Nick Rotundo is the guy who recorded like Boy Sets Fire. He was in Walleye, Railhead, like a lot of pretty awesome bands. And a brain aneurysm about 2 weeks ago. Just wasn't feeling great, and face planted, had a brain aneurysm. He's been in the hospital in a coma since then. I've gone and visited him a few times, and it's not looking great, but I just wanted to send thoughts and good vibes out to the family. It's a sad loss to the community to see him go, and at this point he's in hospice, and we're kind of just hoping he can pass peacefully at this point. But I wanted to, just let everybody know that, this guy is a legend, not just in the area, but just especially in the hardcore punk industry. Just sad to see him go. And I just wanted to get that out of the way first so that we can get back to regular topics.
Oh, it's all good, man. As a matter of fact, man, prayers and good wishes out to him and his family and to you. I mean, it's tough to lose a friend like that, and it's not easy in this particular situation.
It's rough.
So.
And this is the guy who basically, like, in my younger teen years, that I was looking up to, that was engineering bands and that I was kind of watching. So
word.
Send that message out.
That's why we gotta honor the people while they're here, man, because you never know when your time is up, because life is a vapor. So we just always got to make sure that we just honor the people we admire all the time. And I'm glad you brought that up, Ken.
Word. I agree.
No doubt, so man. I just wanted to send that shout out. I mean, we got a lot of topics to cover. I'll be, just so that people know, I'm kind of, because I am, like, we're rushing to get into this house as fast as possible. So that's why you guys see me always over here working. So if you see my video, go to just my logo, and it takes me a second to respond. It's because I'm making noise that you guys don't need to hear. So just be patient.
Word. So yeah, man, let's see what we got for topics here. So we were talking about plugins. Tell me a little bit about the plugins you've been using as of late, or that you've been kind of eyeballing and getting into.
Okay, so man, there's this company called Unfiltered Audio.
Okay.
Man, they make some of the dopest plugins I have ever used.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, you can find them on the Plugin Alliance website.
Okay.
And man, I recently got the Spec Op processor, and I also got the Unfiltered Audio Zip, which is like a really crazy compressor, and it just does like frequency based compression. And it does a Spec Op is basically like a spectral analyzer that basically processes thing on a spectral basis, like frequency, and just breaks it apart into different things. So man, it's just been really creative for me, just creating textures and creating sound design and all that sort of stuff. Me and you were talking about Slate's Distressor.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that joint is crazy right there. Yeah, all their stuff is crazy.
Yeah, so this is the Spec Op joint you were talking about, right?
Yeah, as of right now, I own every single plugin they have.
Oh, dope. So what's the Sandman Pro? I actually have I seen you playing with the Sandman Pro before? I think you may have showed us this.
Pro is, for me, after Echo Boy, by far it's the dopest delay plugin on the market.
Dope. Okay, I'm gonna have to check these joints out.
And it's real modular too, because you can do patching. You can send modulation to most of the. You can modulate any parameter with the modulation matrix.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's how all their plugins operate.
That's dope. So they let you get granular into what you can do with it.
They have a mod matrix on every single plugin, even if it's a distortion plugin.
Right.
It's a mod matrix that you can modify everything.
Dope.
It's really, really, really dope.
You may have just got them a couple sales because I want to check them out now. Then there's Dent.
Oh yeah,
Dent and Indent.
Yeah, so Dent is basically analog heat in the form of a plugin.
Dope. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, yo. And like, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no excuse for people not to make dope sounding stuff, because if you can't afford the hardware, there's plugins out there that do crazy stuff.
Yeah, you know what? I have not done it yet, but for years now it feels like, and I always forget, but I keep meaning to get some Sound Toys stuff, because I've never heard anything but good stuff about Sound Toys.
Black Friday, Corey.
There it is. That's what's up.
Yeah, I bought the whole bundle like 3 Black Fridays ago.
Word? How much did it run you?
Dude, so normally it's like 5 something. I got the whole bundle for like $250.
Wow. Dope.
Yeah, like I saw that Black Friday deal. I was like, snatchy, I'm getting it.
Yeah, so that's what's up. I'm gonna have to wait till Black Friday. You know, something else I've been looking at specifically about Black Friday, because I can't buy UAD stuff on the regular day because they be too. You gotta wait till Black Friday or mid-year, whenever they do the sale.
Tell me about it, man.
But yeah, what is it? There's like a EMS reverb.
Oh, the EMT?
Yeah, the EMT reverb, I think it is. It's a dope plate reverb. So, you know, a couple days ago, all this week, I've been bugging out about plate reverbs and all kinds of stuff. And that was one of them that I checked out. I think Willie.
Yeah, I got three reverbs from UAD. I have the EMT 140. I have the Ocean Way Studio joint, which is really dope, because it's not only just a reverb, it's also like a mic modeling kind of plugin. And I have the RealVerb Pro, so that's a pretty cool joint. The stuff just sounds good, man. So, but I will go for that EMT.
But you know, wait, let me make sure that it's the EMT, because I get the feeling that it's one that just came out, but I don't know if it is the EMT.
Hey Corey, while you're talking about those those plate reverbs, Audio Damage has EOS 2, and that's got some really cool plate reverb sounds in it as well.
Yeah, it's a really dope. I got the iOS version. That joint that goes on everything.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that it's iOS and it's also VST and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's really dope, man. I've been using that a ton on stuff. What I really like using that for is just like add just like an ambience to whatever. Like if I'm trying to put something in a space, it's like one of the first things I'm reaching for right now.
This is the one. It's called AMS RMX16, expanded digital reverb.
I know what you're talking about.
That joint sounds dope. It sounds really incredible.
Did you demo it?
Yeah, I was demoing it, and that's why I know I want to buy it on Black Friday. That's gonna be one of them.
Yeah, get that joint, man. UAD plugins be like $700 for plugin. I'm like,
yeah, right.
does that joint come with a haircut and a sandwich?
Yeah, right. You'd be like, y'all gonna send me the knobs and the faceplate in the mail, right?
Yeah. I'm like, man, will this mow my lawn too?
Yeah, straight up. That is the truth. That's why, when you buy, if you ever get to a point where you buy Apollo products or UAD hardware, make sure you do it when they got a deal going on where you get 5 extra plugins with whatever you're buying.
That's what I did, man. I bought it. I got it when I got my Apollo on sale. I got my plugins on sale. So
yeah, that's what's up.
And yo, that's the thing. A lot of people don't know. They give you vouchers a lot. They'll always drop like $50 vouchers in your account, and that's good because it just helps towards doing that. I think it's just working smart. The same way we save up for hardware, just make sure that you have tools for making your stuff like presentable as far as like presenting the final product to people. Because like having a ton of like analog gear is great, and I tell people all the time, it's good to have that stuff. But it doesn't mean nothing if you can't mix well.
That's true.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or if you don't know how to compress something the right way or limit something the right way.
That's true. And that's just about with anything. Like people like to go out and even talk about a bunch of compressors and stuff. And if you don't know how to use them, it's just gonna make everything trashy.
Well, here's one thing, Corey, and this is something that I've always been telling a lot of people. It doesn't matter what brand you have. A compressor is a compressor. They all act the same way. They all do the same thing. Now, there's different styles.
Oh, whoa. Did you say they all act the same way?
Wait. Let me finish my sentence. I'm saying there's different styles.
It better be a good finish to that sentence.
Dude, let me finish, though. I'm like, yo, there's different styles of compression. There's opto compression. There's different stuff. So there's different textures. And there's different.
You better finish this sentence better than that.
I kind of think I know where you're going though. Like
how to use a compressor is
how to use one, sure. Essentially, but man, you look at different compressors and the way that they slope and cut off and
that's very technical though. What I'm saying is most people want to go buy the crazy expensive compressors and they don't know how to use a stock one. So
here's what I'll say to that. Most plugins, like a plug-in compressor for the most part, different than the hardware. And I know that's like, but with that being said, like there's a major difference between, even just using like a FET compressor, 2 different FET compressors that one might have a really fast cutoff or like gating type sound. Like if you get like a cheap 3630, and that thing almost sounds like a noise gate the way it cuts off. It's something that's going to be maybe twice the price. It's going to have a nicer
but I'm
slope.
saying knowing how to use compression and knowing what compression does is very important before going.
Absolutely. Fundamentals are always important.
Before going out and buying the most expensive.
Yeah, because whatever. A lot of times what happens is people see a new plugin come out and it has a certain name. And it's just like, oh, I'm going to go get that because it's going to make it sound this way. Wait, do you know what kind of compressor that's modeling? Do you know that's modeling a digital compressor? Do you know that it's not modeling an analog compressor? So for me, I'm just like, yo, like, don't buy plugins because it's cool to use whatever plugins that everybody's using. Because what's going to happen is you're going to end up wasting a lot of money and have a lot of plugins sitting on your hard drive that you don't use. When you really had stuff built into your software that's
what I was about to say, is that really most DAWs today have great compressors built in. Like Studio One has a great compressor built right into it. Logic has a great compressor built right into it. Like most of these have really, really nice compressors built into them. The only thing that you're getting with the plugins a lot of the time is one, a different user interface, and sometimes that inspires people. And then 2, some of them handle saturation and things like that a little bit different.
Of course.
So there's that for just like slightly different colors. But let's be realistic. I mean, you can get similar colors by doing other techniques, running through other saturation plugins, which are usually in that DAW already. There's lots of other ways of getting there. But yeah, I would say, like, to me, like, I've got a bunch of different VST plugins that are nice compressors, but I usually pick them more for certain color schemes as opposed to like, hey, does it compress any better? Like, usually not so much about compressing better. It's more usually about, like, oh, how did they model distortion in this one or whatever.
Yeah, but then that's where you're getting into the texture and the frequency response of these different kind of compressors. Like, you're choosing them because of their character. So the thing is, a lot of companies market, like, they'll use, like, here's a new Neve compressor, and because we know we associate Neve to be with something high end, we buy into that, when really we just spent $1,000 on something that we could have been doing with stock stuff that we have, and then we're insecure about our choices when it comes to making music, and then we're insecure about our music because we didn't have the dopest whatever gear to make it. And I feel like I just always encourage people, use what you have.
I'll tell you, when you do use what you have, you might be surprised. I mean, it's almost like when I was a kid, when we'd be like, it's nothing in the kitchen to eat, and my mom go in there and whip up something, and it's the best dinner from stuff that was already in there. You know what I mean? It's the similar thing. Like, you can find that, like, the basic stuff that you have, if you're creative and you kind of get into a mode where you're inspired, you can make whatever you got really work for you on a big level.
And one of the reasons I bring this up is because you already know our Marco Polo chat is always us saying new things we want. We want this, we want this. But then we talk about it with each other, and then guys like Ken come into the chat and be like, well, you know, this does this already, so you don't really need it.
That's right.
You know, so we need that voice to say stuff a lot, because a lot of times we're just spending money aimlessly, which I get, you know, I get it, capitalism, I get, you know, making money, but yo, it affects you in the long haul, because plugins come out every day, and if you're buying stuff every day,
that's a problem. That's a problem. Who was it? Our other homies in the group chat. He said, Rod. He said that there was one time where him and he was online. I don't know, he was talking to Joe or talking to Ken a couple years back. He was online, and it was some sale going on and with some plugins, and he's like, I bought so many plugins that night, I don't use none of them. I was just caught up in plug-in buying, buy this, buy that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, what's funny is it was him and Joe from soundsandgear.com, and Joe and him both, they probably spent at least a couple $100 or more that night, and I doubt either one of them used it.
Yeah,
plugins more than 5 times. If they used them more than 5 times, I'd be amazed.
Joe don't even use MIDI.
Yeah, exactly. What he doing with all that? That made me laugh so hard, man, because they was gassing each other up back and forth.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah.
Did you see this one? I just bought it.
Yo, that's hilarious.
Somebody say gassing it up.
And Corey, you know me. You know I'm an addict, bro. I'm an addict. Like, and this is coming from me. Like, I'm always like, yo, I want to get this. I want to get this. Like,
we all are.
Yeah, we all are. But it's just one of those things where I'm just like, man, I gotta justify spending this money so that it comes back. And knowing that I make my living off of this, that's why I try different tools too, because I'm always looking for a different texture, different sound, and also a quicker workflow. You know,
here's another thing with that. Like, yeah, because I know what you mean. Quicker workflow can make all the difference. And sometimes you may have something that does a certain thing, but if you can get something similar that has a quicker workflow that makes things a little easier, I can't front on that. Now, that brings me into the thought about what I was going around about this weekend. I mean, during this week, right? So I did that pack, the District 808. And then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do District 909 too, sample pack. And I started using a software version of the 909. And I was like, I could just use this. And I really was racking my brain, like, what else I got? I think I can do some 909 with this, do some 909 with that. But then I know that once I had played with the TR-09, at one point, and I remember how punchy it was, to my surprise. And honestly, I think the snare on the TR-09 sounds better than the original 909 snare. I don't know what it is. Maybe because I kind of like a little bit of top end, a little more top end on my snares and stuff, so it cracks a little harder than the original. Because you know the original 909 sounds are more round, I think.
Yeah,
a little more
that's
dark.
why I don't like. I think that's why I'm not a fan of the 909. The only sound, I like the 909 clap. I like the toms.
Right.
I'm gonna hold my tongue on the 909 until Corey's done said his piece. I got plenty on that.
Yeah. So here's the thing about it though. I was using a software which was pretty dope, and I was cool, but I knew it didn't punch as well, and I could make it punch, do some stuff, but I don't know. Well, anyway, I picked up the 909. I mean the TR-09. I wish I picked up a 909, but I picked up the TR-09.
No $1 billion on a 909 right now.
Yeah, no doubt. I ain't on that. So, but the thing is, it really does have more punch. Like it's more gratifying, like more instant, and then the tweakability that's right at your fingertips kind of made it. It was just what I needed, and I think that's that comparison of working with what you got versus something that might, you know, you don't have, that may give you a little something that may make your workflow a little easier or give you that extra little oomph that you don't have. And I definitely could tell the difference between this ACB technology and the TR-09 and that software version.
So let me just say this. I've toyed with the idea of doing 808 and 909 packs for a minute, but I've never done it because I don't have an actual 808 and 909 in my arsenal. However, I have a ton of analog modular versions of those same components. I always tend to name the products differently. Now, I haven't done a strict, like, hey, let me do like really clean versions of these things. I always end up processing them and doing something different because there's a lot of 808s and 909s out there. But the process has been like, so for instance, I have like the Audio Damage Boom Shack, and I have the Mutant drums from Hex Inverter, like the Mutant snare and whatnot. Now, these have elements of that same style sound in them. You can certainly achieve very 909 like character with that, and 808 like character with those. I always tend to just let them be their own thing, and I've got lots of software that can do that stuff, but man, I really tend to veer away from using the software for the sound pack stuff, just because I'm like, well, they really want that, they can use the software to get that. The fault with my thinking is, and this is where I'm like mega contradictory in myself, is that the whole point of a lot of these sound packs is that people want the sounds that are sculpted by the sound designers and engineers who know how to do it. So it's not really about what you use. It's really about your end result. And is the end result good enough to sell? And truth be told, using software most certainly can be. Drumazon, there's a lot of great 808 and 909 style VSTs that when you mix them properly and when you compress them and when you EQ them, they sound fabulous, and in my opinion could certainly be warrant, selling a product like that. So
here's the other thing, Ken. You made a lot of good points. The fact that we're sound designers and we can shape things into, like, it's always going to be, when I'm designing something, it's always going to be my interpretation or reimagining of whatever it is, like something, especially when it's something like the 808 or the 909. So in this case too, the District 808 and the District 909 sample packs are actually, they have loops in them too. Yeah. So part of the thing with the loops is that I wanted the real feel of that 808 and 909 sequencer. You know what I'm saying? Because actually the 909 has a really particular kind of swing. I used to hate it back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, but it was hip hop. Like you see cats, way rappers used to have two dancers with them all the time. When I see them dances, I hear like that 808 and 909 swing, the way things used to kind of swing, and they would use the toms and it would almost sound go-go and stuff. So that's also part of the reason why I say, you know what, I'm gonna get the actual unit, because some of the loops that I do, I want them to have that feel from the sequencer on the device.
I'm gonna say right now, if you didn't like Mantronics, I probably don't like you.
See,
Mantronics
used the crap out of it at 909.
Yeah. So, but see, Corey, that's one of those things. That's one of those things where I'm like, there's certain references I know that are 909s, but then there's like there were some other records you were mentioning. I was like, man, I never heard that joint.
Yeah, yeah.
I never heard, you know, so for me, it's like, yeah, I'm more comfortable with the 808 because I grew up more listening to music that had 808s. And that's another elephant in the room that I want to talk about. What you hear on records now is not 808s. These are subtone sine waves. These are not 808.
Exactly. And that's really what I was kind of getting at with a lot of the modular drums and stuff that I use. That's why I never really name it that way, because I have a pet peeve about people calling 808s that aren't 808s. Like when you say 808s, that's like, it doesn't really make sense. So you have multiple 808 drum machines on your record? Is that what you're trying to say? Like, it's just it's a pet peeve.
Like, go listen to an Egyptian Lover
Reasons.
Record. That's 808.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's 808 music. Like, go, you know, like that's real 808. You know what won me over to the 808? I saw this video on YouTube a couple years ago with the Dalius.
Yeah, the Dalius did a good comparison of the TR. Was it the TR-08 or the TR-08?
No, but this was a video before that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where it was him using his 808 that was broken. So it had like crazy noise coming out of it. So like the outputs were jacked up. So his 808 sounds a certain way. And he did this whole thing where he did this offset of a rhythm that was crazy, because instead of starting the kick drum on one, he started it on and it created this crazy pulse. And that's when I fell in love.
That video, yeah.
That's when I fell in love with the sequencing in the 808. I was like, that's madly. No, but I've only had experience with 808 samples. I've never.
Well, that's because you're youngin'. You were born in like 2005, right?
No, I was not born in 2005. No, I was telling Corey that.
He said 2005.
2005. I'm like,
you know what? He said that, but in my mind, I heard 85. So later, I'm like, wait, he said 2005.
I was born 84. And for me, it's like, I was born when the 808 was the thing in music. Like, I was born in 1984. Like, every freaking album had a TR-808 on it. So for me, I'm just like, I'm not really too familiar with 909s and stuff like that. So that's why
I can tell you personally, like, yeah, when Beastie Boys cut that album and they scream right on there, nothing sounds quite like an 808. And that was late. That was when they did Go Breaking and all that. What was that out? Intergalactic and all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, Intergalactic is stupid, man. Well, I don't even know why you mentioned that. That takes my head away from everything. When you mention Intergalactic, that is one of the greatest joint stuff ever all time.
Yeah, that is super crazy.
But the thing is like before that, you know, we had been hearing the 808 so much, and everybody kind of knew what it was, and it was kind of everywhere. But it was like that, and the fact that they did what's that song? They reversed the 808. Oh God, I'm trying.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, Paul Revere.
Yeah.
Paul Revere.
Yeah. So like all of that kind of just like, man, so it like that was kind of like a soundtrack of the youth.
Bro, so, Marvin Gaye had the 808
to me.
Yes, and Marvin Gaye got one of the best drum programs for that sexual healing of all 808 time.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he made those few steps sound like like heaven for real.
Yeah, man, and that's kind of why I like the 808, because for me it's very diverse. Now, when it comes to the 909, I've grown to love a lot of the sounds in it, but I never used them traditionally in the way they're used in the actual 909 drum machine. Like, I'll take a 909 tom and turn that into a bass sound.
Right.
Because I love the texture of the 909 tom. So I'll loop up the middle of it and create a bass tone with it. And I'll do creative sampling with it, because I never really liked the 909 as the drum machine. I like the 909 for the sound.
Yeah.
Well, that was always my thing, is that even if I had an actual 808 and 909 in my studio, I don't think I would make 808 and 909 sound packs like that. I would be making things where I'm like, oh, process through this or use this way or use that way.
Well,
because
that's
it's
the whole thing with the District 808 and District 909 that I'm doing. It's really a reinterpretation of those source files. You know what I mean? Those sounds that like I want to dirty them up. And I'm actually, because I know the history that it has with hip hop, I'm actually like almost using techniques that would be similar to those guys back in the classic hip hop days, sampling 909s and 808s, or recording them through those old boards and horrible equipment or whatever it was, or vintage equipment.
But that's part of what made the classic 808 sound, because they did run it through horrible stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's, man, even when you think of stories of Kool Herc sampling the 808.
Yeah.
And then it playing out of his sampler in a certain way.
That's it. That's exactly
so
it.
For me,
because a lot of times you would have cats sampling 909s and 808s. Like Ken don't like that with the S on it, but you would have them sampling the 909 and the 808 drum machines into like SP1200s and you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. SP12s during that time probably. So yeah,
that's actually the 808 that a lot of people associate, the sampled version of it.
Exactly.
Like, especially when it comes to hip hop, it's not necessarily the drum machine; it's the sampled version of it that became famous.
That's it. That's real.
Like, and that's kind of the thing, is where now you see how relevant samplers are, because the color and texture that samplers add to analog drum machines, and they add to all these other things, is what actually makes it palatable for everyone. Because sometimes you might not like the way the drum machine sounds by itself, but the moment you run it into a sampler and it gets degraded to 12-bit, and it has that feeling where it's a little bit beefier and more mid-rangey, then it's, oh, I like this, because it sounds more like a real drum.
Yeah, and that's what's tripped out too, man, with the loops that I was making for this sample pack. Some of the loops, I was just sitting here last night listening to it. I'm like, that don't even sound like a 909 anymore. But what's dope is that it does sound like classic hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's kind of that lane with these two packs that I'm doing.
Well, one thing that I've learned, Corey, is that, especially with doing sound packs, is that you don't really sell a sound anymore. You sell nostalgia.
Yeah. Word. Yep.
You know, it's not, you know, and yes, we have to be skilled at what we do, and we have to take what our craft seriously. But a lot of what we do is selling people memories.
Yep.
You know, we're selling them their we're selling them their childhood.
Yeah. That's
like, hey, like, you know what? I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I was like, man, you remember when the ice cream truck used to come by your hood?
Yeah.
And they used to have the WWF wrestling ice cream cones?
What? WWF wrestling ice cream
cones?
Nah, bro. What's this?
Bro, it's
that must have been on the East Coast. I ain't seen that in Chicago.
Okay, anybody in the chat, if you remember the WWF ice cream cones, and it was like the ice cream stick. Ken, let me know if you remember this. It's the stick with like a cookie, right? It's like a cookie ice cream sandwich with a wrestler printed on the cookie.
What?
I remember this. I remember this very well.
I ain't never seen that.
I used to beg my parents. I'm like, I want that Hulk Hogan ice cream.
The Hulk Hogan and
was it shaped like a line of cocaine for Hulk Hogan?
No,
Ultimate Warrior.
It was like it was shaped like almost like an oval, like a football on a stick. But it was like a
but Corry is Steele. Corey's right there. It was the Ultimate Warrior. The inside of that was all cocaine. So
yo.
To clarify.
Yeah, I'm just saying. It's one of those things. Is where like, yo, I would pay anything now to have one of those, just to feel like I felt like I was 12.
Yeah. Word.
So imagine. Yo, remember Ken, you remember the Ninja Turtles? Remember the Ninja Turtle ones with the gumball eyeballs?
Yo, and the baseball mitt one.
Oh yes. I want that right now.
Listen. That's why when I did and actually I don't even think I ever put a pack out with this stuff, but for personal nostalgia, I got a SID guts, which is the SID chip from the Commodore 64. I grew up 64. I didn't even have an NES in my household, but I had a Commodore 64. So when I built my SID guts module for my Eurorack, I actually opened up my old Commodore 64. Not only did I take the SID chip from it, but I also took the output capacitors from the actual computer and put it in there because I wanted that exact sound. So I know what you mean.
Dope. But that's kind of similar to why all of us have had our bouts of fiending for Rhodes pianos, and most of us have them now. But there's a whole thing. How many Rhodes piano emulations and sample Rhodes pianos did we come across before we actually ended up getting a Rhodes piano?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's that nostalgia. Like there's certain things about like a Mini Moog and a Rhodes that I loved before I even knew what those things were.
Yeah,
that sound.
But check this out, Corey. But now you wonder why companies won't come up with new synths.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because that's the thing, right? Creating today's memories and today's nostalgia for tomorrow, right?
So that's why I'm telling you right now, in the year 2030, FL Studio will be a vintage synth.
Word.
It will be vintage.
I've been saying this for quite a long time.
Yeah,
man. I totally agree.
And you know what? It has every right to be, because it's nostalgic for the kids now.
Yeah.
And it's, and I'm not mad at that, because the same stuff that you can do in Pro Tools, you could do in FL Studio. It's just a blank canvas. It's just how the creator is using it. And that's something that, man, me personally, I wish somebody would just come up with a new synth so that we can try something new, like some new form of synthesis, some new form of like.
Well, see, that's the thing. New form of synthesis would be like the thing that would be innovative. But I think a new synth, and we all kind of love this synth, a new synth that's going to be a classic later is the Matrix Brute.
Oh yeah, Matrix Brute. Yeah, Matrix Brute is definitely. I would put most of the stuff, because even when you think of the Micro Brute, that joint is fire. Like I love it.
Yep, I agree.
Like I love it.
It is one of my favorite synths, actually.
I think the Brutes will kind of go down in the long term as like the revival of the analog situation.
Just as it clearly is.
It was that Mini Brute. And I'll tell you what, man, like I do a lot of work with Arturia. So like I'm acutely aware of the sound of these things, but I'll tell you what, man, the Mini Brute, Micro Brute, and Matrix Brute all have a different tone. They all sound different, and they all have like man. When the Mini and the Micro came out, when the Micro dropped, I was like, oh snap! Like it does sound different. It has a very different refined sound than the Mini Brute. The Mini Brute growls totally different if you play with the two.
Yep.
I like the Micro Brute because it's an extremely dangerous device in a small package, and I could take it anywhere with me. I'm not gonna be on my lawn with a Matrix Brute. Maybe Ken will. Maybe Ken will be on his lawn.
Not with the Matrix, man. Not with the Matrix, man. I do need to up my gains, but I'm not upping my gains like that because that sucker is heavy.
Yeah, I'm
gonna go ahead and make the declaration though, as if I need another synth. That Matrix Brute gonna be mine, and at some point, it's just one of those kinds of things.
We all plotting, Corey.
Yeah,
all of us are plotting how to get it because. And you know what? What's beautiful about the Matrix Brute? It's still more affordable than a Model B.
Yeah, or the Voyager.
It's like, yo, this joint offers you so much more as far as functionality, even in tone.
It could easily be a $4,000 synth.
Yeah, because it's such a dope chameleon.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of things, and yo, if you know how to use oscillators and envelopes, it can literally be a mini drum machine.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Listen, hold on. To kind of get back to that previous topic, I gotta ask, what are your favorite VST drum machines?
My favorite VST drum machines?
Yeah, because we were talking about doing like basically hardware style packs and whatnot. But what are your actual favorite drum machines that are VST?
Okay, my favorite. I have three that I use all the time. I use I use Heartbeat by Softtube.
Here it is. I was just about to.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
that joint is cold blooded.
I use Tremor by F Expansion.
Oh yeah, I use that.
That joint is ridiculous, yo. Like, and I don't know.
It's pretty underrated. Like, it got a little bit of buzz when it came out, but I don't see anybody talking about it these days. But man, that thing is really dope.
A lot of people only use what's popular, and that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, I hear you.
And then this wouldn't be a drum machine. This is more of a sampler, but I use Geist too.
I was just about to say that too.
Yeah, like a lot. Yo, Geist 2 has some of the ultimate sculpting capabilities of any freaking drum machine thing in the universe. Like, it has like multiple envelopes. It has a whole modular section. It has a transmod section that you can modulate everything. It's
that's the thing. There's iPad drum machines that are pretty dope out there.
Yes. Yes. Yo, the drum synth in CoreGadget is crazy dope.
Oh, don't even start with CoreGadget though. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in CoreGadget that I'm like, why aren't these standalone VSTs like, or why aren't they boxes? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I'm just like, yo, I
feel like that's how they're prototyping new devices.
Let's talk about the Volcas.
Yeah.
The Volca.
So I actually I modified my Volca because I didn't really like the snare, but I really like the kick.
Mm-hmm.
I find the Volcas to be really like them, but at the same time, I'm like, man, like, oh, if they just kind of expanded this idea a little bit or that idea a little bit, like that Volca sample, I would love to have one of those if it actually sampled. Like,
I had it and I took it back.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, that's
you like Volcas and joints like that. I'm surprised to hear you took it back.
No, well, here's the reason why I took back the Volca sample specifically. Number one, you can't sample into it.
Oh, you have to load samples in?
Yeah, you have to load samples.
Yeah, you got to load them in through an iOS app.
Number two, you can't turn quantize off. That's what I don't like about any of the Volcas.
Yeah.
They're all fixed. And for me, that's a drummer. I like to have expression when I create music. So I only buy anything that sequences. I only buy something that has that flexibility, that I can be on the grid or off the grid. You're never gonna see me buy something that doesn't give me the option, because that's a deal breaker.
Another drum synth that I use a ton is Waldorf's Attack.
Oh, I don't have that.
Yeah. Waldorf Attack is.
Oh man, Attack is dope.
But is it complicated?
Yeah, Attack is crazy dope. What's that?
Is it super complicated?
I'm driving, so it's breaking up on me a little bit.
I don't think it's complicated. He's asking,
it's not
complicated.
No, it's really not that complicated. You sit down with it for 30 minutes and you'll kind of get it. On the surface, it's kind of basic, but as you start digging into it, you start realizing how deep it goes. And the synthesis in it is crazy. It can do vocal formant synthesis as well, so you can actually make it say things into it, and it'll sing it back to you.
What? That's some witchcraft, B. Woo!
Yeah, and it's on iOS. It's on iOS as well as VST.
Okay, so I guess that will be purchased right now. Yo,
I use it on my iPad more than anything.
Dope.
And then I just sample it straight into my other gear. Like, I'll sample it right away into Machine or whatever.
I forgot about elastic drums that I use all the time.
Oh wow!
Crazy drum synth, like, and
I heard you talk about elastic drums before.
And for me, and here's the thing: it's all about workflow, man. Like, if it works for you, it works for you. Because I use really cheap, horrible things to make dope stuff, and it's just because I've learned. No, I've learned technique, and I think at the end of the day, if we kind of study technique, which I know you have, which I know Ken has, we learn, like we were talking earlier about compression. We learn how to use all these different types of compressors. We learn how to use all different types of EQs. We learn how to use transient designers, all this stuff that we can take garbage and literally make stuff sound super dope.
I do tend to like a lot of garbage, and I've always been that way. So.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool garbage out there, though.
There is. One man's garbage is another man's treasure.
I grew up on that SK1 sound, so it's like now when I hear like, you know, what would be a garbage sampler sound, I'm like, ooh, I love that. I love hearing like,
but ain't that the stuff we try to achieve?
Low...
Right? That's what's crazy about it. We try to achieve that
when we try to achieve garbage.
Yeah, we try to achieve the garbage. Look, you know what? Check this out. The 3630 compressor is like legendary.
You can get them for $30. You can get them for $30,
and they sound so great, but they aren't it's not like a high-end compressor.
They sound pretty terrible. They sound pretty terrible,
but it's terrible in the best possible way.
No, that's
you can use them. You can use them to your advantage. Like you can use them as an effect. You know.
Yo, dude, look at how inexpensive the DBXs are.
Yeah. You can get those for like $60. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But they hit though.
Yeah.
They
without a doubt.
And I'm just like,
I mean, and then the DBXs though, okay, so the 3630, at least this 3630 is known for like dance music and stuff, but the DBXs really was a huge part of hip hop. Yep. Back in the day, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
probably
man.
Still. I mean, that's one of those things people don't talk about. We talk about all the samplers and stuff, but we were also using a lot of other stuff with those samplers, and the DBX compressors was one of them.
Yeah, man. And
think about spending the time and effort to take something like a 3630. You can get the older 3630s and you can modify them extensively. Like, I mean extensively.
Yep.
And you can turn them into something that rivals a $1,000 or more compressor. But you have to be willing to put in a decent amount of work. Do you think that that's worth it to put in all that kind of work on modding something that starts out as garbage and modding it in that way into something pristine and boutique? Or do you feel like I should have just bought a warm audio or something?
Yeah, but Ken, what I love about trying the modding stuff is the experience that comes with that. Because it's like you might mess up and destroy your compressor by trying to mod it, but it's you actually learning what's inside of it and learning how to work.
I've had a lot of like heart and throat moments. Like I modified my MPC 2000 XL, and this was like not that long after they had come out, and they were still a lot of money. And and I fried it. Like I fried. Well, this is back before I had a lot more knowledge, So like I didn't really know what the hell I was doing, even in the slightest. But I got these man-sized balls, and I just tried it anyway. And and I failed miserably. I got this man-sized failure going on too. And I'll tell you what.
Always has the quote of the podcast.
Yeah, he does.
Yo, let me tell you about how, dude, I smoked this thing. I turned it on, and the thing started smoking, and I was like, that's not good. So I had to pay to have an actual technician come out and fix it. Or for me to actually I took it. I had to drive to a TV repair shop, and luckily that guy was able to figure it out. But the point was that I was willing to take this risk, and the main reason I took that risk was because I was too cheap to just go out and buy an actual 8-out for it. I was like, I'm not willing to spend like the $250 or $350, whatever it was at the time, but I'm willing to try and like break this $1,800 piece of equipment.
Yeah,
but you know what though? That was a different time though too, Ken. Like it wasn't like just all of this like stuff at your fingertips that you could just jump on the internet and grab any and everything possible.
I was desperate.
Or even there wasn't a lot of money too, though. I mean, I had an MPC 2000 XL, and I was like, I ain't buying nothing extra for it. You know what I'm saying? Got no more money for this. Ain't no outs. Ain't no effects board. It took me a long time to get the outs, man, because it was just one of those things. Like I got to figure out what I'm gonna eat for lunch for the next few long weeks.
I copped the 3000 XL used. I yanked the 8-outs out of that and the effects board out of it, and I modified the cable so that it would reach, because the cable in the 3000 is a lot shorter. So I had to get a new cable and all, and then I promptly fried my board, and luckily it was just like a fuse resistor or something in there. But yeah, man, like that. Sometimes you got to be willing to sacrifice, your soul to make it happen.
I really, man, look. If I tell you a story, I've had breakups. I've broken up with girls just because I'm just like, look, I ain't gonna be able to take you out on no date.
I need this money.
Like, I'm just letting you know right now, this piece of gear is more important than our relationship. And no, because it was like, when you're standing there, you're like, okay, I can make beats with this, but I can hang out with you. I can make beats with this.
That's right.
Dude. I'm just like,
especially if it's a moment when she's argumentative about
it's like, you getting on my nerves. I'm like, I don't like you too much right now. Mm-mm.
Yeah, you're
savage.
Disposable. This gear is gonna love me.
That's young D Steele. Thank God, older D Steele is a happily married man for almost a decade. So hey.
I'll tell you what, man. That was
a savage.
Somebody's asking, was there an expansion ROM to upgrade the MPC 2000? Nah, there were like effects cards. There were no sound.
Well, you could get more memory. You could get more memory, and there was actually there. Hold on now, because you got to say no, but you're kind of wrong. There was sound cards that you could throw into, because that's there was a ROM chip that you could put in it. They were pretty darn rare. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was called, but there was a ROM chip, and it would let you could actually change out how your metronome sounded, and I think it was like maybe 5 megabytes worth of sounds. But it was like, I don't even know if it was official or what, but I know you could do that. Because I had searched high and low trying to get a hold of one at one point, a long time ago. This would have been back in like probably 2004 or something like that. I was trying to get this thing.
I feel you.
That was a year before Steele was born.
Yeah.
2004.
2004, really? You know what's crazy? The fact that all these companies are offering products that come with like 20 to 30 gigs of sounds. When we bought equipment back in the day, that joint came mad empty. Nothing. It came with like 30 megabytes of sound, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And that was heavy, dude. That was heavy, because I remember when I got my ASRX and I was like 64 megabytes. I'm doubled what my MPC could do. This is amazing.
Did you guys see the recent Sonic State joint where they were doing the interview with the guy that does the Fairlight restoration?
Oh yeah.
Yo, did you hear how much memory used to come in that thing?
Oh my goodness.
That joint was like a 25 megabyte drive. I'm like, yo, that is crazy.
I'll tell you what, man, and some of that stuff, like you were saying about FL Studio being classic, it's like, Fairlight is now a classic sound, and it's essentially it was software. It had a little bit of hardware to it, but yeah, I mean that's essentially a software sound engine as well.
Yeah, that joint was probably like the first digital.
Well, I think that was the first digital sampler.
Yeah, it was the first. It was. Would you consider? I know this is not the same kind of thing, but would you consider the synclavier to be at that level of something like that?
Well, it did sample resynthesis. So, and that was right around the same time, right? So
yeah,
I don't remember exactly. I'll tell you what, I used the crap out of that Arturia synclavier. That synclavier V is phenomenal. I love that thing.
What's the price of a real synclavier looking like?
Oh my God.
I don't have that kind of money, so I don't even. Yeah. I don't even look at them anymore, because
what did universities start?
I almost had enough money to buy the controller. I almost had enough money to buy the controller keyboard at one point.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's just not gonna happen. Plus, like, I'll be honest with you, man, that's one of those things where I like the software more than I think I would like that hardware, just because the software gives you so much easier control, and you get dude, it's like that exact sound. Like it's awesome, man.
And you get all the modern computing aspects of it because
they modeled it all the way down to the DAC and everything. So like you get all of it out of it, and I really dig that software, man. It's really to get that kind of weirdly enjoyable garbage. It has that, you know.
I like the Matrix 12. That's one of my favorite that I really enjoy out of the.
Oh yeah,
Matrix 12 sounds incredible. It does.
Yeah, man. If I could afford one of them joints, man. Oh, I was telling the other day, one of the keyboards that I really want, and I just haven't had the guts to go buy it, is because I want a monopoly. That's what
but you know what's funny? See, that goes back to the conversation too. I've heard old head synthesis be like, why is everybody crazy about the monopoly? It wasn't even a great synth to begin with. You know, like same thing I've heard people say that about like the JX3P or the Juno or something. You know what I'm saying? Like they weren't, but those sounds though are like nostalgic and their shortcomings, just like, nobody loved those 808 and 909 drum machines. People did, but I'm saying like when it came out, it was kind of almost considered a failure. You know what I'm saying? Until hip hop and dance folks got a hold of it. You know what I mean? The monopoly is dope.
Yeah, well, one thing that I've learned about my workflow is that, believe it or not, I feel like hardware synths are faster to work on than plugins for me. Because it's sitting right in front of me. It's all the knobs are laid out. I can touch it. I can make my patch really fast. When it comes to plugins, it's cool. I can design the patch fast, but then I got to throw like another plugin on top of it to make it sound like the outputs of the actual synth that I want it to sound like. And it's just like a lot of work with plugins to get it to sound. Some plugins is not a lot of work. Like if I use Diva, it's not a lot of work.
Yeah.
If I use
Heartbeat, not a lot of work.
Heartbeat is not a lot of work. Repro 1, not a lot of work. It's just for some reason, whatever coding they did in the modeling, it's beautiful and it sounds almost like a real synth. Like as far as, but then again, when you think of the word synth, it's something synthesized.
Yeah.
It's just depending on what kind of texture and color you like.
It almost sounds like a real fake thing.
Yeah, it sounds like a real fake thing. And I think that like very early, I subscribed to the thought of like, I don't care if it's analog or digital. If it sounds good, it sounds good. I'm happy.
Oh, I'm still about that. I mean, I'm very intrigued and in love with analog, but I'm not like a snob about it. I mean, I like digital to do what digital does well. You know what I mean? If it sounds good, it sounds good, and there's merit in the. That's why I've like digital oscillators in my my Eurorack system, and I've had plenty digital synths come through here. The thing is, you just got to love them for what they are.
Yeah.
When you start trying to make everything, that's when things get crazy. You know what I mean?
And that's where the nostalgia battle fails, because when companies try to market plugins as analog modeled, you're never gonna win. Like you can't say that a plugin, if it was up to me, please don't put the word analog in any plugin.
That's word. That's true.
Please don't do that.
Right. Yeah.
Like just don't do that. It's like when remember that Marco Polo when I told you like, yo, if you ever hand me Miracle Whip, we're not friends.
Yeah.
Like don't put Miracle Whip in anything.
Oh, speaking of that, this is tangential,
like
but I'm just saying.
Yeah, but Ken, you like garbage.
Yeah, that's
true. I'm also white.
I've heard somebody putting Miracle Whip in their guacamole. I've heard of restaurants putting Miracle Whip in their guacamole to stretch it.
What?
That is like that's a sin. Yeah, no doubt.
I thought that was illegal.
It should be. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get with that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, you were talking about the monopoly, but didn't Korg like recently announce that they were coming with something at NAMM that's supposed to be bomb diggy? What's going on there?
Wait,
anybody heard anything?
Monopoly on the iPad, right?
Well, no, like they said they're supposed to be coming with a flagship analog or something.
Yeah, and the monopoly on the iPad sounds good, but yeah, they are supposed to be coming with something flagship. Have any of you guys messed with that Korg, King Korg?
I have.
I have, but I haven't not extensive.
I've never messed with it.
I think it sounds pretty good, yo.
I didn't think it sounded bad. I didn't care for the interface. It just didn't do it for me.
I don't think it looks great. It wasn't inspiring, but I think it sounds pretty good. If they were cheap enough, I'd be like, yeah, I could see that. You know what I mean? But
I could definitely see it being great for a musician who's gigging and touring and whatnot. But like just
everything right there
for studio, it just didn't do it for me, man.
But yeah, what is it exactly though? Like, is it?
It's for the time it was their flagship virtual analog synthesizer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got a whole bunch of different filters in it, and it's got some nice VA modeling in it. I don't know if it's related to the Radius at all as far as that engine, but I've never been that big on Korg's virtual analog in their hardware. Like I had the Micro Korg, and I like the MS-2000 because of how it's laid out. I like the layout of it, but overall, like the board that was in the Triton, I just don't really like their virtual analog.
Yeah,
it doesn't really do it for me.
Neither do I. I feel like some of the Montage sounded really good. I heard it the other day.
Montage is dope. It's also like $3,000.
Yeah. Man, if I could have one of them joints.
That's a lot of Eurorack modules.
I know. Yeah, you know what?
Or very few, depending on who you buy from.
Yeah, that's true.
By the way,
depending on which brand you buy, yeah.
Ken, by the way, I heard the Double Helix in person for the first time the other day.
It's a dope module, man. People are sleeping on that thing.
Bro, yeah, I heard it through a CS style filter.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I run mine like that, but you know what? In truth, a lot of the times, I don't run it with a filter. I like dual oscillators. I like to wave shape them with themselves. Like, like that's kind of the point of them, is that you can use them without a filter, and you can wave shape.
But at the same time, you add to the character with a filter. So, I mean, that's
sure.
That much more flexible. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying, more often than not, like in the case that I currently have it, I run basically it straight output goes right to the mixer, and I'm sequencing it with the Fluxus One and just striking the input on it. Man, I love that thing. I think it sounds so cool.
I'm interested to see how you're doing that, because I know for me, a lot of the musical quality that goes into my production is based off of filters. So like, for instance, I build a lot of harmony and resonance with filters. That's just my own style of how I do stuff. And that's something that is real important to me. So I know definitely in my rig, filter, that's one thing I'm going to have to chop it up with both of you about. Like, yo, what filter sounds the butteriest? You know what I'm saying? And what sounds the most...
I can't say enough about Evolution filter.
What 5 filters sound the best?
Yeah.
What 5 filters sound the best?
I'm not going to pick just one.
After I got the Evolution filter, I haven't used another filter until just today.
I got the Evolution filter, but I haven't had enough time playing with it. Like, all I've done with it so far is compare and contrast it between the Matrix Brutes ladder filter, the Studio Electronics 5089 ladder filter, and the Subfatty ladder filter. Like, basically, I just took a bunch of my ladder filters and I kind of stacked them all up and just I like to examine the living crap out of every module that I get and just kind of learn, okay, this one breaks up at this point this way, or this one thins out when you do this, or this one gets thicker when you do that. So I spent probably like 2 full days doing nothing but comparing and contrasting it to my other ladder filters to get to know it, and to get to know its saturation points and that sort of thing. Which I hope that will benefit me somehow, but I love doing that stuff.
Yeah,
you know what though, Ken? You are very much about
it helps me in workflow. Like, down the road, it helps me in workflow as far as like how quickly can I achieve the sound that I want. But that being said, even if it didn't, I would do it anyway, just because I really enjoy doing that kind of stuff.
Bro, the other day I hit up Ken on Marco Polo. I'm like, yo, what you up to? He's like, I'm over here comparing oscillators. Why? I'm like, why are you doing that?
That's when you do this and walk out the room.
Yeah. He's like, I'm comparing these two exact same oscillators from two different things. And I'm like, how long you been doing that? He's like, for the past 3 hours. I'm like, get out of here with that, bro.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I know that Ramona oscillator like the back of my hand now.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
Video coming soon. That's the other benefit of it is I don't like doing videos on modules and stuff until I know them like the back of my hand. Because then, like, if I do them too quickly, then people will come into the comments like, oh, I got to correct you on this, that, and the third. Or, oh, like, looks like you didn't do your damn homework. And I'm like, I don't want to be that dude. I'm like, I'm trying to do other people a service. I'm not trying to cause people more of a hindrance.
Don't you just hate when you try and do your own show and that one dude just pops in the chat like, well, actually, I'm like, bro, if you don't get off of here.
Get out. That's what it is.
I'm
doing that to Steele all the time.
Yeah.
It's all me.
I got love for Ken. Ken is my brother, so he has the open door for the well actuallys in my life. You know what I'm saying? but it's just like, yo, like, dude, I don't know you. Get out of here with your well actually. Like,
but you know what? In truth, Steele always hits me with the well actually when it comes to like obscure TV shows like Small Wonder or whatever. So it's okay.
I can't believe you said Small Wonder.
Small Wonder, is that ish?
Yo, notice how we don't take risks with TV shows like that anymore. All these TV shows coming out now, all regular. Yo, back in the 90s, we had TV shows about robot maids and freaking crazy stuff.
Cat eating aliens.
Yo, remember Out of This World? That girl Vicky that would stop time by going like this?
Yeah, man.
That's
her dad lived in a crystal next to her bed. Yo, you had to
that
be
means
high.
She was on meth.
Yo, you had to be high as hell to come up with that story. Like, yo.
Which they were. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Like, my dad lived in a crystal next to my bed, but he's actually in outer space.
That's wild business.
You gotta be out your mind for that stuff, yo. I'm sorry. I love the 80s and the early 90s.
You know what? I get like secondhand embarrassment when I see commercials or any advertisement, anything. If Alf shows up, I'll be like, I used to watch that.
Bruh, all I did
I'm slightly embarrassed. I shall not talk about Alf.
Yo, Corey, all I did as a kid was practice drums and keyboard, watch TV, and freaking play Crossfire. That's all I did.
Crossfire was my jam.
Bruh.
That caused many a house fights.
Bro, I got in trouble because I hit my brother in the eye with the Crossfire joint. Yeah.
You have to. That's extra points.
That's extra points.
Yo, remember
those steel marbles, man? Those ball bearings that they've had in there, they will hurt too, because you could get them going.
Yeah, I remember catching my brother in the eye, and I got the worst beating from my parents. They're like, "You don't use this as a weapon. It's a game."
Anything could be a weapon, though. I hit my cousin in the head with an Atari 2600. That didn't work out too well for him. I got a lot of trouble for that.
Corey, I got a worse one, and my brother's gonna kill me. Oh my god, dog. So you remember Transformers used to be made out of die-cast metal?
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
So you know when you're a little kid,
this ain't going well. Already.
Yo, so I remember my brother was in the bathtub playing with toys. You know, he's in there playing with action figures and stuff, and he got on my nerves. And I was like, "Here!" And I threw a transformer at him. He was like, "Ah!"
Hey, but the question is, did you sample the impact of the transformer when it hit his head?
I didn't know what a sampler was. Bro, I know what a sampler was at that time. And I'm like, man, but
he had to pull him out of the. He was probably drowning. Had to pull him out the bathtub. He's pressing on Megatron, rejuvenate.
don't you die on me.
So okay, I gotta pull it back. We go pull it back. We went mad tangential right there. Okay, look.
What is this podcast about again?
I
forget.
What's the latest products that you're working on, D? And what's your name again there, buddy?
I have no idea. I'm just a pretty face.
Oh, pretty face Ken and D. What's the latest products y'all working on?
And I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about Megatron dying and giving him mouth. We just came out with Lo-Fi Melodics Volume 6 the other day. No, I believe either yesterday or the day before yesterday we came out with that.
Y'all killing it with those, bro.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Honestly, we always want to put out stuff that we would use ourselves. And that's something that, there's a lot of sound design pollution out there, and we don't want to contribute to that.
Word.
We want to make stuff that people are going to actually make records with. They're going to be inspired by. They're going to have fun. They're going to just feel good making this music. So we came out with that. We came out with Slump Loops Volume 3 recently. We came out with. We come up with so much stuff. It's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, y'all be killing it. It's like. You know what? Like television has the weekly show type stuff, but then you got the daily shows, like talk shows and stuff. Y'all are more like daily shows. It's definitely not a weekly or monthly type of thing. Y'all definitely.
Yeah. You know what it is, Corry? Is because between me, M Simp, and a lot of the other guys that are working with us, we are all active producers. And we always need inspiration too. So we're in a place where we're constantly creating based off of the need for inspiration.
Right.
So we just have a lot of content that we do, and it's really good. And a lot of us are just really good musicians, so we just have the ability to do this stuff. So man, we're just blessed, man. That's all I can really say. And we just want to help everybody else create. So go to the website, go cop some stuff, because we got to keep the lights on.
Word.
Yeah, man.
And the artwork is dope too, by the way.
Yeah, man.
It's almost like that's gonna be a thing. I could see something later down the line, like people having some sort of nostalgia for these artworks that y'all put together.
Well, if you look at the artwork, it's all about nostalgia.
Yeah,
it's all about these things that just make you think about other things in other moments. So it's pretty dope.
Word.
Ken, what you got going on?
I've been I've been slamming out products and not putting any of them out for anybody to actually touch. So I've done probably like 25 products over the past.
You've been working, boy.
I don't know, like these guys know I've been just grinding hard. What I've decided is that I'm not putting any of it out until probably like mid-November. So yeah, you can go to shop.fluxwithit.com. The most recent thing up there would be the 8-bit dipped. 8-bit dipped was pretty darn recent. And that's just a bunch of dope drums that I processed through 8-bit 11 kilohertz and kind of made it. The goal was not to make it sound video gamey and super lo-fi. The goal was to do the exact opposite, which is to take that lo-fi format and make good sounding drums with it, right? So you get that sheen and that grit and that dirt, but not done in a hokey way where it's just a gimmick. You're getting that texture, but it's good quality drums. So that's 8-bit dipped, and I've got a bunch of other products, but I'm gonna wait until mid-November to drop them. Along with
too, right? But this was a while ago, huh?
So Chemtrails is that's for Ultranova, and that's just a pack of presets for the Ultranova, which is pretty dope.
I still want that, man.
But the other thing is that I'm going to be doing some physical items that I'm going to be selling off on my site as basically I'm gearing up for NAMM, and I'm on the other side of the country from NAMM, so it costs me money to go out there and all, and so I thought of a way for people to be able to help support the whole Flux With It media side of things. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to have stickers, and I've got modular jack lights, and I'm going to do a couple other things that are going to be in basically like a bag of, Flux tchotchkes types things that people can get and show their support and get actual usage out of too. So it'll be some cool stuff.
Yeah.
So
I think that's
shop.fluxwithit.com. Yeah.
That's a new product right there, Ken. Flux tchotchke.
Flux tchotchke.
Yeah, man. I've been, man, I tell you what, I'm really anxious to get like the I did a Emacs Rhodes library. I did a bunch of like man, I did so many products, but I'll wait until November before I start really talking about them and showing them to people. What you got, Corey?
Word. Hold on. Yeah. Here we go. So as I was talking about, this is one of those things that I just released this week, District 808. And yeah, so basically this is like me reimagining sort of the 808. And maybe I think what I was trying to achieve is like having a pack that you could pull up and get some nostalgia out of, like nostalgic hip hop type of deal. So really it was me taking 808s, making loops, and also kind of making drum samples out of it, creative little bits of creativity or inspiration, and kind of trying to make it like we talked about, like when you took an 808 back in the day and sampled it into a S950 or an MPC 62 or an SP 1200 or something. So that was the kind of sound I tried to achieve with that. So what you'll get here is a little bit more grimy 808s, and then there's like, you know, there's 20 loops and like 60 one shots. So, and the loops are like going through different filters and stuff, and that's kind of maybe a little techie, the stuff that I did, but the sound is kind of dirty and grimy. You know what I mean? But you could take these loops and then start to pull one shots off of them and create like whole new universes of stuff. So yeah. And the 909, actually, I just finished last night. So that should be up in the next couple of days, District 909.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Still, let's see. I'm going to stop sharing that. All right. So fellas, and to my people out in the, you know, I wanted to, I still want to, but we'll wait till next time. I want to talk about those MK2 boxes again, since they starting to show up in the wild.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to talk about those, but we are just at about an hour and 20 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and call it one. Thank my people who came through in the chat. Actually, Mike Acosta was in the chat. Shout out to Mike Acosta.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out Mike Acosta.
Yeah. And Masada was out there. Shout out to Chaz. We've been chatting it up while he was on, and everybody else that came through, David Ramirez and all my people. Thanks for stopping through the chat. Be sure to go to msxaudio.com, fluxwithit.com, beatpeople.com, and support your people, man. We got more stuff.
Hey, by the way, I will probably be doing a show later on today, probably around like 6 o'clock Eastern. Okay. I'm going to do another Lab Lounging show today, so. And if anybody's around and wants to jump on, just hit me up.
Oh, word. No doubt, man. I'll probably be around, so I'll holler at you.
Yeah, that's on the YouTube channel. That's YouTube Flux 302. So.
Okay. Awesome.
So what's up, Flux? You somewhere with a backing up truck, or you doing something?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm still working on that gas line, so I'm at Home Depot grabbing some fittings.
Word. Okay then, man. Signing off. Peace to everybody. This is Beat People Podcast. All right.
Peace.